Hi, welcome back. I'm Vonnie from Vonboo, and this time I'm going to be making over this lovely little dresser. She's solid, just needed a few repairs and a good clean. I'm going to be applying a paint inlay from Iron Orchid Design called Lattice Rose. This is part of their new spring release for 2024. And I'm loving the designs. They actually got their inspiration from vintage wallpaper. There are 4 designs in this pack. There's 2 sheets of each, and I'm really excited. I'm wanting to create a really aged appearance with this piece. So I'm starting off with Annie Sloan Chalk Paint Antoinette, which is a very light pink. And I've mixed it with salt wash, which is a texture additive to create a bit of texture, obviously, as our first layer. Notice how I'm using a really grungy paintbrush, as you really don't want to use your good paintbrushes for this. So I always save my grungy paintbrushes for all this stippling with texture. So once I've applied this texture layer all over and it's dried, I go on to my next layer, which is Annie Sloan's Empress Silk. So while I'm doing this, I'm considering what I'm going to do with the paint inlays. How am I going to lay them out? Where the designs are going to go. I like to use all the patterns. So where are they going to go? If you're not familiar what a paint inlay is, this design that you see that's on the paper is actual paint. It's not a transfer, and what I'm going to do is transfer that painted image onto the paint that's on my drawer. On the other side is grids, which makes it easier to measure up on your piece and to cut it up. And it just so happens that half the paper pattern fits the little drawers just perfectly, so I can use half for one and half for the other. But the paint inlay needs to be applied onto a wet surface, either wet paint or top coat. This time I'm putting a second coat of Annie Sloan's Empress Silk, and while it is still wet, I'm putting the painted surface down. Make sure you've got the painted surface down, not the grid surface down. And as it is paper, it will try to wrinkle a bit as it contacts the wet surface. So I'm spreading it out. I'm misting it slightly. This helps to release the paint from the paper. I'm using a bit of a damp sponge to make sure that the whole surface has contact with the painted surface. And then I'm going to use a brayer as well, which helps flatten out the paper, because if you get wrinkles in the paper, that will prevent that bit of paint design adhering to your surface. I hope that all makes sense. I'm using the same process to apply another one of the designs onto the side panels of the dresser, and I've decided I'm going to, inside these little panels, I'm going to paint them white. So I'm just putting on one coat of white just now. And using the grid lines as a guide, I'm going to cut to fit the space. And remember the old saying, measure twice, cut once. So when you're up to the stage of applying the paint inlay, this process happens really quickly. You apply the paint and it doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be tidy. You need to just get it on quite thickly so you can put the paint inlay down while it is still wet. Now here I am giving it a bit of a mist. I'm using my damp sponge and I'm pushing out some of the creases with my brayer. Once it's completely dry, you can then give the back of the paper a bit of a mist, wait a few seconds, and then gently peel the paper off. And what you find is the paint design that was on the paper has transferred onto your painted surface. And this particular part of the process is just magic to me. I love watching the big reveal. And you know, sometimes it's a little bit rustic, it's a little bit imperfect, and that's what I love about it, and it really suits this type of piece that I'm trying to create. Now I'm going to finish painting the whole piece in the Empress Silk. I'll give it just one coat first because I am going to add a few more paint inlay designs around the body. This is the fourth design that's in the pack, but I'm going to cut out the stripes. I just want the other little design in there, and I'm going to put that around the body of the piece. So when all the paint inlays are on, and before I seal it, I'm going to use my carbide scraper here to scrape off some of the top layer, because we've got that lovely texture underneath. It gives it a bit of a chippy look, a bit of an aged appearance, you know, something that looks a bit worn and well loved. And I'm using a bit of sandpaper on the drawers because that paint inlay was just looking a little too perfect for me, for this piece anyway. So I'm just sanding it all over just to give it a bit more of a worn look. Now I'm going to apply Annie Sloane's clear wax all over the piece. to enhance the yummy aged effect, I'm adding some Anti-Slane dark wax. Now, you can add as much of this dark wax as you like if you've clear waxed beforehand, because it will wipe off if you have applied the clear wax first. And if you find that you add too much and it won't wipe off with a cloth, you can just come back in with some clear wax and it will remove the dark wax. But as you can see, I'm adding even more, but I'm concentrating around the edges and around corners where aged grime and dirt usually accumulates. Now I'm applying the dark wax around the drawers and concentrating mainly around the edges. If you're trying dark wax for the first time, don't be afraid. As long as you've clear waxed beforehand, you can remove it with the clear wax if you find it's too grungy. To finish off, I'm painting the legs with Anti-Slane's graphite, and I will finish that off with some dark wax as well. And these are the original handles that come up really nicely with some bright gold gilding wax. So here she is all finished, and I have to say that I'm in love. I love this vintage style. I love this aged appearance. I love how the paint inlays are so easy to use to create this look. And I'm so happy I chose to use Anti-Slane's Empress Silk Red. It is so vibrant. And it's a colour that I haven't used for ages, and I'm really loving it. There's almost an oriental feel about the whole piece. I really hope you've enjoyed this makeover, and if you'd like to see more of my work, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching.